this is part of the reason. You know, it's 19 years ago, 20 years ago, that David Lumia gifted to the New Jersey Rep a building on Broadway. And I got to know Gabe and Susan Barabbas then. And this idea that there was going to be first world premiere plays on Broadway and Long Branch was a little bit beyond the realm of everybody but their imagination. And it's been happening there since 1998. And Ends.
That was the first play.
Right.
Ends. Yes.
Ends. About a Vietnam vet. Then there was Show Me a Voice, which you wrote. And then probably about 200 more.
Many, many. Yeah.
In-hand readings, some fundraisers, and a number of other events on Broadway. And it doesn't happen without the dedication of Gabe, his wife, and some other people at that theater. And it has been this huge addition to our town, culturally, economically, and spiritually, because if you believe in the arts, that they do something special. And a lot of you people, at least some of you are here because of the historical side of things. You're part of the Historical Association. Some of you are here because it's West End, and some of you are here because you're members of his theater group, and you subscribe. People have been coming to town, going out to eat, and going to see First Run Plays in Long Branch. And about 3 or 4 years ago, this building became available. And some of us who are here are parents of kids who went to school here. You? I'm not old enough to know about that.
We went to school.
Yeah. And, you know, this building went up for sale, and there was a little bit of competition. And if Broadway on Broadway was a stretch of the imagination, a theater group buying this and restoring it and raising the money to do that is very creative and very imaginative and very, very, very exciting for what it means to West End. You know, we have a couple projects going on, but this is think about bringing in 150 people 300 times a year to go to the theater, to go out to dinner, to go out and have a couple of drinks, to go out and have dessert. And at the same time, there's about 5 or 6 other projects that are going on right now in town, in this section of town. And think of what it does for the businesses and the social environment and the excitement level of what goes on here. And it doesn't happen without Gabe, his wife, now their son-in-law. They browbeat him into coming to work for them. He's giving up the practice of law. I can't imagine why he did it. To come and work in the family business, which is the theater. So, you know, on behalf of the city, we've got 2 of the council people here tonight, Kate Billings and Mike Sirianni. We're very excited by it. We just think it's going to be this huge positive influence of people coming into town to enjoy the arts, to get a little bit of education, to see something they can't see anywhere else. Who would imagine going to Long Branch to see something you can't see anywhere else? So thank you. We're excited, and we're looking forward to the presentation and what's going to come here.
Well, welcome everybody. As Adam said, I'm Gabe Barabbas, and I'm the producer of the theater on Broadway. All the people who come there, I always remind them that they're coming to Broadway, only in Long Branch, New Jersey. And when this building became available, it was a real stretch for us. But we just felt that our time had come to try to see if we could win a bid on this property. And because of some really generous philanthropists, we were able to acquire this property. And it's the culmination of a dream for us, because we've always had the dream that we would want to spread our wings a bit. And what property could enable you to do that more than this one? And the dream is that we're going to gradually transform this space into 2 theaters, into an art cinema, a museum, classes in all the arts for young people, from acting to playwriting to poetry to dance to music, and become even more of a cultural presence here. Now, Adam had mentioned that some of you went to school here. How many went to school? And that some of you have children who went here. Who? Now, you're all too young to have had grandchildren, don't you? But I do have a burning question. How many of you have pleasant or unpleasant recollections of being in the principal's office? Yes, and my current office is the principal's office. So it's the haunted office. Now, right now, I'm sure some of you are interested in knowing a little bit about the timetable of how this is going to happen. I think you can appreciate that this is a daunting undertaking, because it's going to take a lot to renovate and create some additional spaces, but we're very committed to making that happen. Now, you can't all see it possibly from far back, but the general idea, and you know that area was built in the 40s, this area was built in the 60s. It appears that in the bowels of this building over there is old brick down in the basement by the tunnels that is probably from the 1870s, because at least from what I read, this was the first school built in Long Branch. So this school is standing on the remnants of the first school that was built in Long Branch. And we very early on got the feeling that so many people were emotionally attached to this building, which represents part of the community, that we would try within our plans not to demolish the building, but to keep it so we could save its spirit and to build around it. So that's what we are doing. Someone even came up to me passionately 12 months ago and dragged me back into the building and said, "You see that mosaic up there? You're not going to destroy it or take it down, are you?" And of course, we promised that we wouldn't do that. Now, we may move it, but we're going to save it. It's very, very important. Now, basically what our dream is, and it's going to take a lot of money. We are now talking to foundations, corporations, wealthy individuals who have nothing better to do with their money to build the cultural center, not for us, but for the community. This is truly, we feel we're a representative of the community. The 1960s wing over there is ultimately going to become about a 160-seat theater. It's going to have a tower above the stage, a hidden tower from which we're going to float the sets onto the stage. And when it's time to change the scenery, we just float one set up and float the other one down. Then this area is another theater, a much more intimate theater. Then over here, we're going to have classrooms and studios and the various arts. In this region, the plan is to build apartments for out-of-town actors and playwrights, because we're a union theater, and one of our obligations and contractual agreements is we have to house all the talent that comes from California, from North Carolina, from New York City, and so on. And over here where the green lawn is, facing 2nd Avenue, and this is only a partial drawing, there would be, at this point, it seems, an art cinema, and above it, a museum. There's some flexibility, and then there will be a public sculpture garden. So we're going to obviously take advantage of the beautiful lawn, and this goes from 2nd Avenue all the way to Sayers. So it's really a remarkable opportunity for us to do this. At the present time, when we're doing our plays and our programs over on Broadway, we have remarkable people who've started coming to Long Branch to do plays and shows here. We've had shows that we premiered that have now played on Off-Broadway and in theaters all across the country. So we create new works that go to various places. I remember 35 years ago when I moved into Long Branch, I was at that time a neurologist at Monmouth Medical Center, and because I was a neurologist going to different emergencies day and night and so on, I would be driving through the community at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning. So it wasn't always during the daytime when you're awake. And so I got to know the community 24 hours a day, and became very intrigued by the possibility of what could a cultural center contribute to the city and keep building the city, along with all the many other individuals who are doing that around us. So that's really what we are trying to achieve. How long will it take? I'm almost afraid to tell you how much money it's going to cost to fully realize this, but we are going to try to do it in phases so that we don't need to wait for all the funds to come in. And it's going to happen with people who believe in this city and who are willing to contribute funds like foundations, corporations, to make this happen. That's where we're at right now. And it's so remarkable for me that it's the Long Branch Historical Association that's the first entity that is really coming in here. Because this is our very first public meeting ever here. And I think that it probably is not by chance. That there's something to that. Now, I would like to just kind of open it up if you have any questions, comments. Yes.
So right now, is there anything that's going on
Yes.
in here? And so what is it that's
Yes.
going on?
So we had to move our offices here so we can begin to have a presence and meet with the different people we have to meet with. We have started classes in acting, classes in playwriting. Come the summer and fall, we're probably going to have some classes in painting and drawing, as well as these other classes. And come October, we are going to have a mega arts festival. And it's going to be from October 1 to October 8th. And it's called the All About Eve Festival of the Arts. And what's going to happen, what we've done, is we sent out thousands of letters to playwrights all over the country to write plays for us on the theme of All About Eve. Whatever that means. We don't tell them what that means, we just give them the theme. We already in 4 weeks have gotten 200 scripts. Okay. Then we are going to have an art show. And we've asked painters and sculptors to create works based on that subject. And I think at this point we already have 20 artists signed up, and there's going to be more who are creating paintings and artworks on the theme of All About Eve. We partnered with a poetry group in Red Bank, a very active poetry group, and asked, would you send out a missive to the hundreds of poets you deal with and tell them we want them to write poems based on the theme of All About Eve. Okay? And so we're going to have banners, and we're going to have signs, and it's all going to be publicizing this arts festival to really inaugurate this space. That's what it's going to be, All About It. And we're going to have music, and we're going to have food from the restaurateurs in the area, and it should just be a wonderful thing that we want all the community to come to and talk it up and support the event. Yes?
How did you come to pick that theme?
Susie. Susie is our artistic director. Happens to be my wife, but she's the artist.
We picked the thing because we want to have plays that empower women. Plays about women, even if the woman is not in the play, it still has to center around a female character in the play. And so these are being, I just got a play today from New Zealand. I mean, we are getting plays from all over the world because of the internet. It's not like we used to do this many years ago, and we'd get a lot of plays from New York and the Tri-City area, the Tri-State area. But now we're getting plays from Australia and from the UK and everywhere. And we're going to be picking 28 short plays. These are 10 to 15-minute plays. And we're going to create within this beautiful school 4 mini theaters. And people are going to come in. There'll be about 40 people in each of the theaters. And they'll see a 10 to 15-minute play. These are going to be plays that are going simultaneously. And when the play is over, the audience will get up and move to another room and see another play. At the events. There's going to be music after the four plays, and there's going to be, we hope that we'll get community support from the local restaurants and have food for everybody. We're also going to be looking for sponsors for these events. Like they were mentioned, there's going to be an art show. There's also going to be a photography exhibit. Not too long ago, Andrea Fox did her exhibit, 100 Women of Long Branch. She's going to have that here as well. So some of you might be in that exhibit. So we're going to have that as well. But we thought it would be a great way to introduce the theater to the community and have the community help us with this event. Now this is going to be, it's like 6 months away, but it's going to be a tremendous effort to just even do this. And we're hoping that this will help us get to the next step, which is to raise funds and get interest in people who want to support the development of the main theater, which is a lot of money. Once that's developed, we should be able to kind of move down the building and continue to develop the theater and the arts center. I don't know if I answered your question or just going on too much.
Yes. Yes,
You're keeping your theater on Broadway?
we are. We are. We love our theater on Broadway. And, yes,
Can you
Susan?
mention what we did last weekend?
Oh, yes. Just to give you a general sense of the kind of thing, because, you know, all this is beyond us. This is just a dream, but it can't become reality unless other people buy into it. About 4 weeks ago, we got a call from two of our friends in Los Angeles. One of them is Dan Luria, who was the star of Lombardi on Broadway. He was the father on The Wonder Years. He's all the time in LA doing things. The other is Wendy Malick, who is on television all the time, and Emmy Award nominee, and this and that. And the reason they called us is they said, we've got a couple of days in between shooting our TV shows and films, and we want to come down on our own dime. We're going to fly ourselves back and forth, and we want to do a fundraiser for you guys of a play called Love Letters. But we had no notice at all, okay? And so I hemmed and hawed because we're trying to do this. The last thing we need is another thing. And they said, what are you, crazy? We're coming down. We want to make money for you. And so what we did is we quickly built a temporary additional little theater where we are. And we said, well, it's a fundraiser. It's not our usual ticket price. What do we do? And we said, okay, let's charge $100 a ticket for audiences. And within 5 days, we sold all the shows. Every one of the shows, they came down, we did the thing, we made a little money so that we can pay the heating bill here, and that's how it happened. And then they flew back, and they said they had a fabulous time. They love Long Branch. They love to go to Amy's for breakfast. It's crazy. In fact, I think Dan has his own private table there now. And they can't wait to come back, and they're going to be sending their buddies like Priscilla Lopez and people like that, not people we know, because for some reason they got it into their heads that this was an important thing to help support. They don't live in Long Branch. They never lived in Long Branch. Chances are they never will live in Long Branch, although one of them is thinking of buying a condo here. And so who knows? But that's what we want to bring in here. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Will there be individual studio space in terms of people being able to rent space so they can keep their supplies?
Yes. We're just now beginning to wrap our mind around this because some of this is a work in progress, and we are very committed to supporting the visual arts. You know, the interesting thing is we started as a theater there, and our goal was to expand our theater so we have more spaces. But then we realized when we acquired this that this goes way beyond theater. And so we're not building a theater expansion, we're building a cultural center that has more than theater. It has everything. And, you know, the other thing in answer to that, what I'm hoping is that we'll become a magnet for other arts organizations to start coming here, because there is so much percolating now. Every day I come here, I see someone banging with hammers at another building outside our fence, and I think that, You know, there's gonna be restaurants, there's gonna be businesses. I want other arts groups and artists and galleries to come in here. We're just, hopefully just a catalyst for that. Yes?
Do you have any plans to put in like a little restaurant or cafe?
Our design does show a rooftop cafe. It shows a rooftop cafe. Now, of course, what we are especially interested in, but we've been doing this for 20 years, people come from all over to our little theater on Broadway, and they come from Pennsylvania, from New York City, from 2 hours away in North Jersey, and they'll say, we've got a group of 10 coming, we've never been to Long Branch, where do we go and eat? So we are constantly sending people to the various restaurants. And so...
Yeah, it would be great. I always hope they'd, the old theater over here, they'd turn that into an arts theater with like a restaurant.
Sure, sure.
That would be
Yeah.
a cool thing.
Exactly. I think our presence will help the various restaurants and so. Yes.
From where I'm sitting, are they parking spaces there?
Yes, we have parking for 120 cars already designed. We were fortunate in presenting this to the planning board about a year ago, and this plan has been approved by the planning board. And that's one of the things. I don't see how we could have done this unless we had our own parking.
Do you have any plans to have any information or exhibit here sort of about its history as a school?
I think that's going to be very important, and I think that the Historical Association, we are going to have conversations so that we can highlight the history not only of the schools, but kind of West End. You know what is quite remarkable? And of course, because I'm constantly, my mother always said, never ask anyone for anything. And the irony is, as the producer of the theater, I spend my life asking people for everything. But one of the things that I'm always doing is promoting. And one of the things I promote is, I point out to our audiences that over there we're located on Broadway in Long Branch, New Jersey. What is the miracle is that here we're located on West End. And West End is the heart of theater in London. So our little theater is not only on Broadway, but on West End. And I gotta figure out how to keep parlaying that little story into support from foundations and corporations and so on. But I do think that it's quite an interesting little twist. And we want to know, and you've been sending this to us, West End has a remarkable history. I know why I think it's called West End, but I might have a bias. But I'll share it anyway. Okay. A gentleman who was here in the 1800s, who was a theater impresario from London, was one of the biggest landowners here. And so the question is he the one who coined the term West End? I know not everyone buys into that, but I already told you I have a compelling bias for telling the story that way. And I'm not a historian. I don't have to stick to
What was
things.
his name? Lester Wallace.
Lester
What is it?
Wallace.
Lester Wallace.
Oh,
And what is the...
Wallace Theater in New York.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the club, the major club in New York? The
He started the
Lambs Club.
Lambs.
The
He
Lambs
was, he
Club.
was the shepherd of the lambs.
Oh, we just had them.
Right, and he owned a large piece of property over here all the way to the ocean front. He had his summer house, it was called the Hut, they called it. And I guess it was his brother or his cousin, owned the property on the other side of Tackanassie Lake, which was why it used to be called Tackanassie Lake at one time. It was called Wallack's Pond. And they were major theater. They're the ones that brought like Howie's Gardens. His wife was a major star in his theater. So she came here to visit him and fell in love with Long Branch and talked her rich husband into buying all the property around Cedar Avenue to build Howie's Garden. And a lot of the theater people this was a huge theater colony back in like before the Civil War. It was like a welcoming area. Actors and actresses were kind of shady. They weren't allowed a lot of places. And Long Branch was more welcoming for them.
When we started to do research about Broadway 20 years ago, when we started there, it became apparent that Broadway, well, Long Branch, which was the most exclusive seaside resort in America, and in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there were 4 professional theaters right on Broadway within a block of us. So this was like a hotbed of an actual theatrical cultural renaissance. Yeah. Yes?
You obviously have a passion for medicine and became a neurologist. When did you discover your passion for the theater? How did that come about?
Well, Suzanne, when we met when we were young, was always involved in theater. And so throughout the years together, we always kind of worked together on some of these projects. So when I went to medical school in Cincinnati, we started a theater in Cincinnati. When I went and did my training in neurology at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, we started a theater in Philadelphia. Then vowed we'd never do that again because it's a challenging road. But when that building became available and the Lumias said, we'll give you the building if you promise that you'll make it successful. And I said, oh, I promise. How do you make such a promise? Okay. But the reason he gave the building to us, he wanted to give it to a nonprofit we're a nonprofit organization. Like most professional theaters or museums or symphonies or operas, they're all nonprofit corporations. Lincoln Center, Metropolitan Museum, that's how culture is built in America. And he said, I want you to have an impact on the community. And then we'll give it to you if you promise that. Yes?
Off topic, did you work in Cincinnati University Medical Center?
That's why I did my training at University of Cincinnati, 4 years. Yeah, in that school. Yes?
Money will always be an issue, being it's an arts program, and talking about that, because the individual and the corporate donations that you would always hope to garner. Have you thought of any worldwide solicitation in terms of a Kickstarter type of program? Because there are people who support the arts no matter where they are because they like what they're seeing in terms of the effort, the plan, the model, and they will support the arts no matter where it's located. It may never ever be here, but they will still want to contribute to that.
Can we have a conversation afterwards about this? No, I'm very serious, yes. We're going to have to be very creative in our thinking in how to garner support. But I have this very naive, but I think realistic conviction also. I do think that there are many people in this community, and by that I mean within a 10-15 mile radius, who will be inspired by supporting this project. I have to have that conviction because we've already bought the building. Okay. And so we're committed. Failure is not an option here. Okay. And we're already successful. We're already starting programs. Yeah. Wow. This is such a treat. It really is. It really is. That the community turned out like this is just wonderful for us. And it's actually things like this that have caused us to persevere because the road has not always been smooth. Like any business, you have to persevere. Yeah. So thank you all for coming. And come, keep coming. Yes, and I am told that some of you are anxious to see your old class.
Oh, also tell them about the workshop in the auditorium.
Oh, yes. The auditorium, what we're doing with the auditorium, there's a temporary shop there where we're building the sets for over there. The goal for the auditorium at this point is, and we're just formulating this idea, we're going to be building, if we succeed, a 125-seat theater as soon as we are able. And that other theater that I showed you here will be the next iteration of that project. So rather than wait for this money to come in, we're going to be phasing things in as we mentioned. And so we actually had theater architects here from New York 2 days ago discussing exactly that issue. And the issue is to transform now the auditorium, which has the most amazing wooden arches. I mean, it's really an architectural wonder. So we want to try to protect that if we can. Yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.